video on something I just want to have a quick faff around with. So, I worked tonight and it was pulled pork sandwiches. There's some pulled pork left over. So it's the shoulder of pork. I find if you use leg, it's a little. It takes a long time to cook those leg, and the fibres of the meat are quite long. So I find it a bit stringy. Whereas I think shoulder's a lot nicer. Ideally, I'd like to use the spare rib chop joint, but it's a little bit more expensive, and we're always kind of like on a budget. So there's leftover pork that's shredded and soft, delicious and tender. So I kind of thought, I did see something on TV that I wanted to have a go at, but they use lamb. But I think, but I want to have a use pork and see what happens. So, do I need a bowl? Do I need a bigger bowl? Can I get away with this? I don't know. We'll see how we go. Now we'll mix it in a pan. We'll mix it in the frying pan because that's close. So, cooked pork, and it's in a little bit of the juice. So we don't want the juice. What we're going to try and make is like a. We don't want too much of the juice. We kind of want to make a bit of a sausage, like form it into a round. This might not be. Could do, probably do to be a little bit warmer than this. We might just have to heat it up. We'll do it in the pan. We'll heat it up in the pan. So you can see how soft it is. So what we'll do is we'll just shred it down a bit more, and then I've got some. So what I did do is I cooked it, the shoulder of pork. It came boned and rolled, and it had the skin on. So I slow cooked it, and then I let it go cold, and I pulled the skin off. So we've got all the skin and jelly and fat here in this container. I'm gonna mince that down and extract the fat out of that, and then we'll make some pastry out of that. So how much meat do we want? Not all of it. I'll give that leftover meat to my mum. So I'm going to see mum tomorrow. So I'll give her that bit of leftover meat, and then this is some of the fat that I chopped up from that I pulled off the pulled pork off the shoulder. So we kind of want to add that as well because we want it to. The fat's going to hold it together. So let's put all that in. And then we're going to heat it. So I don't think doing it. It's at about it's not room temperature, but it's cooled down just a little bit too much. I'm burping, so I've just had some pulled pork myself. So what I want to do is I want to roll it up in some foil like that and form like a sausage, so it's like a round. Let it go cold in the fridge overnight, and then we'll slice it tomorrow and we'll fry it, and we'll see if it kind of forms into a sausage patty type of thing. So yeah, so kind of think of a patty. So let's just heat that up. I think there'll be enough fat in there. The fat will render out a little bit. Do we need some more fat in that? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe. I think if we add some more fat, I think it'd be nice. Because the fat will render out and it'll keep it nice and juicy. So there's some more bits of fat. Let's put some more bits of fat in there. And then what will happen is, because it will be hot and it will be soft, we'll be able to form it into a round. And we can season it as well, can't we? So that fat will be fine. So when we fry it, when it's cold and we cut it and then we fry it in a round disc, some of the fat will render out of it. So it's not as if we're putting a lot of fat in the first place. Washing my hands because I'm always covered in stuff. So I don't think it'll need any salt, but we'll certainly need some pepper. So now's a good opportunity to season it. So I'm sure there is. Yeah, so we kind of think of like brawn, which is pig's head. So what you do is you get a pig's head and cook it down slowly where you brine it, and then you slowly cook it in stock, and then shred all the skin and all the meat out of the pork head and the brain, and you chop it all up, and then you form it into a pate in a container and let it go set. Let it set, and then it forms like a bit of a pate, which you then have on toast and things like that. More pepper. I'm knocking the camera, but you know. And then a little bit of salt. Just a little bit. So, because I'm always a little bit of a loss what to do with leftovers, because if you're not careful, leftovers make more leftovers. So you just, it's like this cycle of leftovers. You know, like you turn it into a curry and then you bulk out the curry with something else to make it go a little bit further, because there's not enough of the meal in it. You know, so it just keeps on going and going and going and going and going. You know, unless you've got other people in the house who hoover things up. So. No, I want it a bit deeper than that. Let's make it like that. So it's still hot. And we'll just, how's that taste? That's nice. So I'll just pinch that. Push the ends in. Like that. And roly, and then twisty, and that should be a nice sausage set. Leave it in the fridge overnight to set, so it'll cool, and hopefully it'll set into a solid sausage round, and I'll be able to slice it and fry it and see what happens. And it will just use up that pork, so just on a plate in case any juice wants to come out of it, and then into the fridge and see what it's like in the morning. Right, let's have a look at this. Set solid overnight. So it's an old knife, so we'll just cut through the foil. I think we'll just whip off that end. It's always useful to have. Oh no, didn't want that to happen. We've got the foil mixed in with it. Is it just at that end, or is it both ends? Oh no. No, it's just at the end. That's okay. It's just at the end. So we can cut those ends out. That's okay. So it's not smooth, but it will do. So it wants to be thick enough that it's not going to fall apart when we fry it. But we'll see how this works out. So it's a bit like a sausage patty, isn't it? Get this grease off my hands. Now, you kind of want fat in things because it's flavour and it retains moisture. So we'll just cut that out and see how it tastes before we cook it. Nice. We'll see how it fries. That's lovely. That's lovely. Well, we'll pause. We don't need to do it all, do we? That's lovely, isn't it? I'm going to have 3 for breakfast. Let's dust one in some flour. Let's dust some in a bit of flour. Trying to knock things over. Now let's just put a little bit of flour. I know we've got a comparison, haven't we? Sometimes we just dust things in a bit of flour just for a bit of, it keeps things together and it forms a crust. So just a little bit of flour. You don't always have to flour egg and breadcrumb, but sometimes just a bit of flour. So if it's nice when it's cold, it'll be nice when it's hot. Get rid of those. Not formed a crust yet. So we'll let it form a crust and then we'll flip it over. And I get to finish off that bit without the foil. I'm going to put the foil in my mouth then. It's crisp on the outside. Oh, that's alright, isn't it? Look at that. That works well. Oh. Pulled pork burger, isn't it? I mean, to cook the pork to make those, I think that's a bit of a faff. But to have some leftover pork or beef or lamb and do that, it's a nice alternative, isn't it? And it certainly beats that. Yes, so I made a video on rissoles. Rissoles are meatballs but made with cooked meat. So I always kind of think a meatball, if you kind of think of spaghetti and meatballs, those type of meatballs, they are raw meat that's then cooked, whereas rissoles are cooked meat which are then formed into, added with breadcrumbs and other things, and then recooked again. And you kind of tend to add things like breadcrumbs and a bit of egg to bind it as a way of bulking out meat, so that you've got leftovers. So it kind of turns it into a leftovers again, you know. So it turns the leftovers into more leftovers. So instead of, if you've got quite a lot of leftover meat and you don't want to make rissoles, because the idea of rissoles is to bulk something out to make it go further, if you've got a lot of meat left over, you can just do these instead of turning things into lasagnas and pies and pasties and stuffing other things. It's just a bit, just goes on forever, doesn't it? Well, let's get the plate out. Some more washing up. Oh no, let's save the washing up. No, because I need to take a picture. I need to take a picture, don't I? Well, fry relatively gently, and then we're heating them all the way through. That's okay. Different kind of bright effects. I'm rambling. We should pause. We'll pause, and when they're ready, we'll cut into them, and that'll give me the opportunity to take a picture as well. Right, let's give them a taste. Oh, the camera's a little bit greasy, but not to worry. Nice and soft, which you would expect. This is the one that was coated in the flour, so it's just not coloured as much. That's so good. That's delicious. That's a really good way of using up leftover meat. Yeah. And you can make those, roll it up tight, stick it in the freezer, and it'll freeze pretty well as well. So that ups your that ups your breakfast game, doesn't it? That's delicious. You do need to put the fat in. If you're not a fan of fat, I don't know what to say. But that's delicious. That's success.